If you don't know these questions and the answer to these questions, you really don't have an intention of being financially independent. See, when I ask people around the world, how many of you want to be financially independent? How many would put your hand up? Most everybody. But if I asked percent-wise, how many people actually achieve it? And it's less than 1%. Less than 1%. So everybody has their hand up, but 1%. Now this group is unique because you're entrepreneurs, and that percentage would be much higher. But just the average person doesn't achieve financial independence. Now I had a fantasy about being financially independent, but I wasn't really doing anything tangible that was heading me in that direction, other than I was starting to grow my business. But I really didn't study it. I really didn't have knowledge about it. So this gentleman confronted me with 10 questions. And these 10 questions are the absolute basic minimum requirements for financial independence. If you don't know these questions and the answer to these questions, you really don't have an intention of being financially independent. Can I share those with you? Because I think they could be helpful. Now, I'm going to preface this. When I got those questions, as I was having to answer those questions, I had my jaw tighten up, my stomach got put in a knot, I got anxious and fearful, and I was having uncertainty about myself. So if you have that, just know you're right on track where I was. Now these are 10 questions that most people are afraid to ask themselves. And the average person never addresses them. It's only the 1%ers that do. I believe we had a speaker today address economics and finance. And so some of this may be redundant, but I think it's okay to hear it more than once. These questions he asked me, I want to share now. So you know what to do with this. And thank you for doing that, because your family will appreciate it, and so will your employees. In fact, everybody that ever works with you will be appreciative of that exercise. So the first of the 10 questions was, what are your total assets? What are the total assets you have? Now, at the time when he asked me that, I had a house, but I was foolish enough to buy it at the top of the market. And the market peaked, and then it headed down. So I really didn't have any assets. I had a mortgage, and I was indentured slave to a fractional reserve banking system. I had a credit card debt. I had a loan to open up my practice. I had some equipment, and that was an asset. But if I sold it, I wouldn't get a full price for it. It's a depreciating asset. So when I looked and I put the total assets, I put a number there, but the liabilities were much higher. So I had a negative net worth when I started. The second question he asked me was, what were my total liabilities? And that was quite extensive. That was around $300,000. My total assets was about $100,000. And number 3 was my total net worth, which is number 1 minus number 2, which was a negative $200,000. Now, when you're just out of school, today, $200,000 doesn't seem like much. But when you're 27 years old That seemed like an enormous amount of money. I'd never been in that kind of debt before. Because I just got a $70,000 loan, and then I expanded my office, and I did another $70,000 to build it out. And then I got new equipment, and my wife got a car and furniture and the house and landscaping and all this other stuff. And clothes, because she can't be in the house without clothes. I told her that she doesn't have to wear clothes, because she wanted to wear clothes. That's a bad joke. So I was in debt, and I didn't like it. And I felt burdened. I felt like I was working for other people. And I was paying high interest rates. The next one, number 4, was, what is the total annual passive investment income, the total annual passive investment income I wanted to live on per year? And at the time, I wrote down $100,000. Now today that wouldn't be enough, but at the time, in 1982-83, that seems sufficient. That would be equivalent of probably 500 to 600,000 US today per year, which you can live on. But at the time, it seemed like a bit of a stretch. But I wanted to have $100,000, a 6-digit figure. So I need to know how much that is. And I wrote that down, not realizing what it's going to take to have that. But that's what I would like to have. I had $200,000 negative net worth. I wanted to have $100,000 a year income passively. The next thing that he asked me, with your knowledge of investment, which was about 0, what interest rate do you think you can earn off your investments? The knowledge you have on investing, what can you average invest-wise? And I put 7%. Now, I can make a higher amount today because I'm more knowledgeable, but I put 7% with my knowledge. So I thought I could, if I put my money aside, I could earn 7%, buying stocks, investments of different sorts. The next question he asked me, number 6, was, what is the inflation rate? Now, today it's around just about 2% in the States, but here I think it's higher. I think you're around 5%, yes? 7%. In some countries, like in Zimbabwe, it's outrageous. And now in Iran, it's outrageous. They have hyperinflation. But at the time, it's about 2%. So I wrote down the 7% for interest and the 2% for inflation, because I got to subtract that off what I'm earning. And number 7 was, what is the total net worth required at 7% minus the inflation rate to give me 4, which is $100,000 a year. So if I want $100,000 a year at 7% investment rate, interest rate, minus 2% inflation rate, which equals 5% total. 5% into 100% is 1/20th. If I multiply that times 20, it gives me 2 million. But I got negative 200,000, so I really need 2.2 million. I need 2.2 million right now, earning 7% at 2% inflation to give me $100,000. And I went, okay, now I know what my goal is. I know where I am. I know what I am shooting for. Now I need a strategy. I've randomly asked people in airports, in businesses, on the street, these questions And I assure you, less than 1% know these answers. Most people do not have a value on wealth building. Most people have a value on living the lifestyles, fancy lifestyles, and working their whole life for money instead of having money work for them.